One of you will have to connect it to you. Well, standards, one of you will have to go to that PC and connect this together. I am not doing that. I'm going to start my lecture in exactly 2 minutes. I hope you can do it before that. अगर आपको वहां कनेक्ट नहीं करना है तो अपने फोन्स पे कनेक्ट कर लीजिए बिकॉज आई विल स्टार्ट द लेक्चर नाउ. रेडी? ओके, हियर वी आर. तो until last time what we had done is, मैंने आपसे कहा था कि अगर आपको यहाँ पे देखना है तो आप में से कोई जाके कनेक्ट कर लीजिए या नीचे से कोई हेल्प लेके आइए. If you think I'm going to do everything for you, you are grossly mistaken. Okay, so here we are. We had said northern and northeastern mountains पढ़ रहे थे हम लोग. The very first physiographic division of India was the northern and northeastern mountains. Okay, so उसमें हमने क्या कहा था कि you will basically have उसको हिमालयास को डिवाइड कर देते हैं इनटू ग्रेटर ट्रांस हिमालयन रेंज पहले नॉर्दर्न मोस्ट पार्ट में, फॉलोड बाय द ग्रेटर हिमालयास जिसको हिमाद्री या बहेगिरी कहते हैं, then followed by the lesser Himalayas, and then followed by the outer Himalayas or the Shivaliks. Okay, and then when you go eastwards, you will go to, you both at the back, pink purple skin whatever you're wearing and you design shirt, stand at the back of the class. Did you hear me? समझ में आया मैंने क्या कहा? मैंने कहा खड़े होकर वहां खड़े हो जाइए, वहां पीछे क्लास के पास, वॉल के पास जाके, एंड वहां जाके गप्पे ना लड़ाइए. दोनों जाके खड़े हो जाएंगे. मैग्नेट है आप लोगों में, दूर हो जाइए जरा. Here we are. So outer Himalayas or the Shivaliks, followed by the Darjeeling or Sikkim Himalayas to the east, and then followed by the Purvachal Himalayas, okay, to the very northeast part of it. All right, ठीक है. अभी हमने northern and northeastern mountains को शुरू किया था by seeing उनका orientation study किया था कि जो northwestern mountains है वो थोड़ा northeast to northwest to southeast जाते हैं. In Darjeeling and Sikkim, they are exactly east to west. In Arunachal Pradesh, they will go from southwest to northeast. This is the direction. And lastly, then you have in Nagaland, Manipur, Sikkim, Mizoram, you will have Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram, you will have them in the direction of north to south. Okay, that's the direction. The approximate length is going to be 2,500 kilometers. Width is 160 to 400 kilometers. Remember, Himalayas are wider in the west and thinner or less or narrower in the east. Okay, and they are also usually average height is considered a little taller also in the west, whereas even though you find greatest ranges like Kanchenjunga or Mount Everest in the eastern part of the Himalayas, you will find that the western part generally has a mean average height. Okay, Himalayas are the youngest and the highest. We also know कि वो folding of the crust की वजह से हुआ है because the Indian plate was pushing into the Eurasian plate. Okay, Shivalik range को we remember for this reason that it is the least consolidated of all mountains because we said that it was all those rivers, the Himalayan rivers, went into a geosyncline formed at the foothills of the Himalayas, and then all the silt was gathered over there. And when that silt got folded up, that is essentially what the Shivalik hills are. Okay, that is what we consider. So, and then lastly, if you're considering the characteristics of the Himalayas, it is going to be that they have an arcuate curve, as you can see over here. This curve is arcuate curve. Okay, it curves to the very sides of it. It curves and comes downwards. Okay, so that is the arcuate curve over there. And then, of course, it's a syntaxial bend at the very sides of it. You can see there's the syntaxial bend because the peninsular plateau is pushing into the Eurasian plate. Okay, it's pushing a little more strongly. And it bends around two mountain ranges. You'll have to remember them. One is the Namcha Barwa in the POK region, and second is sorry, Nanga Parvat in the POK region and Namcha Parva in the China region, okay, above Arunachal Pradesh. So, and obviously the southern slopes are steeper, and we had already discussed that yesterday, okay. Now, if you're going for a division of the Himalayas, you go from Kashmir, northwestern Himalayas to the west, then you go to the Himachal, Uttaranchal Himalayas, and then further eastwards you go to the Darjeeling, Sikkim Himalayas, even further towards the northeast, that is the Arunachal Himalayas, and नीचे जब आते हो, जब नीचे की तरफ आ जाओगे, तो that's going to be the eastern hills and mountains, okay? कश्मीर नॉर्थवेस्टर्न हिमालयाज को हमने पहले डिस्कस कर लिया था. वी हैड डिस्कस कि उसके रेंजेस क्या होने चाहिए. वी हैड डिस्कस दिस ना, वी हैड डिस्कस दिस एंड द हिमाचल उत्तरांचल हिमालयाज, राइट? सो वी हैड सेड the Kashmir range is going to have three basic ranges. The Trans Himalayas, that is the Karakoram, Ladakh, Zanskar ranges. Then you also have part of the Greater Himalayas, the Middle Himalayas or the Lesser Himalayas, and also the Shivalik Hills. Okay, so all the Himalayas are included in the Western Himalayas, not Western Himalayas. You have a cold desert there, which is sandwiched between the Karakoram to the north and the Greater Himalayas to the south. Between the Karakoram and the Greater Himalayas, you will find the cold desert. Okay, there is the Kashmir Valley between the Greater Himalayas and the Pir Panjal. Please remember what this is saying, because this is properly written in your NCERT books, and that is exactly the kind of questions that will be asked. Okay, so please remember these details. If you're asked where the Ladakh desert is sandwiched, you should know which two ranges sandwiches them. Okay, if you're ever asked that the Kashmir Valley is sandwiched between these two geographical features, you should know these two geographical features. Okay, everything that is written in NCERT should be considered canon and should be remembered by heart. I am always repeating this statement, and I repeat this all over again. वो इतना irrelevant, इतना, how do you say, इनकॉन्सिक्वेंट फैक्ट लेकर बाहर निकल आते हैं और पूछते हैं कि चलो ये एग्जाम में पूछा था क्योंकि ये एनसीईआरटी में लिखा था. So you will have to remember that there is no other option for it. Okay, ठीक है. Two glaciers over there, Baltoro, Siachen, Kariwa formations. Remember them because they are very unique. You will find them nowhere in the world than here. So you have those Kariwa formations over here, and then two major freshwater lakes, Dal and Wular, and then two saltwater lakes, Pangangso and Somodidi. Okay, two major rivers, Jhelum, Chenab, Indus, Jhelum, Chenab, which drain this particular region. And remember all the major passes: Zojila in Great Himalayas, Banihal in Pir Panjal, Potula in Zanskar, and Khardungla in Ladakh. Okay, remember these passes also because you're asked to match these passes and the ranges that go through it. Passes का मैंने आपको पहले भी बोला था, there are two ways to remember the passes. One, which state or union territory they lie in, and secondly, which mountain range they lie in. Okay, which mountain range they cross through. So that is two ways in which you remember the passes. And remember this area, both these, the Kashmir or northwestern Himalayas and the Himachal Uttaranchal Himalayas, will both have dune formations. Okay, we had discussed what longitudinal dunes are. We had said they are longitudinal valleys which are formed at the base of the foothills of the mountains, usually running parallel to the mountain ranges. Okay, those are the dunes, and you will find these over here. The Jammu Dun and Pathankot Dun are very famous. And remember the major pilgrimage places, which are Vaishno Devi, Amarnath Cave, and Charari Sharif. Okay, and this is very, very pretty. I don't need to tell you how pretty this place is, right? Next, you go to the Himachal Uttaranchal Himalayas. Okay, Himachal Uttaranchal Himalayas lie between Ravi in the west to Kali in the east. I had already told you. See, this is Ravi. Can you make out the Ravi over here? This is the Ravi River, and we say the India-Nepal boundary is formed by the Kali River. Okay, the Kali River forms the India-Nepal boundary. So we are talking about this region. Okay, इस region के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. Between the, we are talking of the Himachal Uttaranchal. Where are you guys looking at? At the phone, ना? हाँ, ठीक है. So we are looking at the Himachal Uttaranchal region. So that will lie between river Ravi on one side and river Kali on the other. Okay, please remember India-Nepal का border form करता है वो Kali River. And that is also another favorite of UPSC. Okay, it contains all three sections. आपको ट्रांस ते बोलत होते, भरपूर बोलत होते. मी आता क्लासच्या सुरुवातीला जर का ते बोलत राहिले मॅम, तर मी काय करू शकते त्यांचं? ते तिथे उभे राहून सुद्धा गप्पा मारतायत. ते तिथे उभे राहून सुद्धा दोघं गप्पा मारत होते. मी सोडून दिलं फायनली ॲट वन पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. मला मॅमनी सांगितलं त्यांना बाहेर नका काढू, नाहीतर ते दुसरे क्लासेस जाऊन डिस्टर्ब करतात. Lesser Himalayas, so we know in three different, lesser Himalayas are called as differently. Normally, in general, lesser Himalayas will be called as Himachal. Okay. Then if you go in Himachal Pradesh, they are famously called as Dhauladhar. If you go to Uttarakhand, they are famously called there as Naktiba. Okay, that is the name they are known by locally. Naktiba in Uttarakhand and Dhauladhar in Himachal Pradesh. Okay, Lesser Himalayas are very favorite. What happened? Because I had told you guys when you both were talking, I had already discussed in class that since nobody will go forward and join the lecture, so you should join it on your phones because I'm not going to do everything. That is what I said. Lesser Himalayas boast of all sorts of hill stations. You have the Dharamshala, Masuri, Shimla, Kausani, Kasauli, Almora, Lansdowne, Ranikhet. Okay, all famous hill stations that you know of lie in these Himalayas. Okay, the Himachal Uttaranchal Himalayas. And you have two major systems in river systems here: the Indus River system, which consists of the Ravi, Bias, and Satluj, and the Ganga River system, which consists of the Yamuna, Gomti, and Ghagra. Okay, these are the two major river systems, and their rivers that will be found over here. Okay, Spiti, I had told you yesterday also, if this is the desert, okay, between the Karakoram and the Great Himalayas, between the Karakoram and the Great Himalayas, if this is the desert, a little portion of it will come over to this section, okay, थोड़ा सा इस section में भी आ जाता है वो, and वो जो होगा on NDA online में वो जो होगा वो आपको यहाँ पे हिमाचल प्रदेश में उसी लद्दाख डेजर्ट का एक्सटेंशन मिल जाएगा इन लाहौल एंड स्पीति ओके स्पीति में मिल जाएगा आपको वो एक्सटेंशन सो दैट इज द एक्सटेंशन दैट यू फाइंड ओवर देयर यू विल ऑल्सो रियलाइज दैट यहाँ के जो शिवालिक फॉर्मेशन है वो सबसे प्रोमिनेंट है इफ यू वांट टू सी द मोस्ट प्रिटीएस्ट एंड द मोस्ट solid shivalik formations they will be within these Himalayas okay within the Himachal Uttaranchal Himalayas and plenty of dunes you will find over here you have the Chandigarh Kalika Dun, the Nalagarh Dun, the Kharike Dun, Kota Dun, Dehra Dun, you know, all of these duns. Two major things. One is a tribe called as Bhotiyas who live over here and they are transmigratory tribes. Okay, so वो season to season ऊपर नीचे करते हैं. So in summers जब वो ये melt हो जाता है पूरा, तो वो नीचे plains की तरफ आते हैं, वो ऊपर grasslands की तरफ जाते हैं. And when it is winter, they come down to when the snow line is a little lower, they come down to the lower reaches जहाँ पे it is not very cold. Okay. And the Bugyals are the grasslands. Okay, Bugyals is the name for the grasslands there locally. So please don't mix these two. Don't call the Bugyals as the tribes and the Bhotiyas as the grasslands. That's not how it works. Bhotiyas are the tribe and Bugyals are the grasslands that they migrate to. Okay, okay. Valley of Flowers is very famous over here. Somebody showed me a picture the other day. Major pilgrimage centers like Gangotri, all वो चार धाम जो है Gangotri, Yamunotri, Kedarnath, Badrinath you'll find over here, and then Himkund Sahib. Remember you have those. That's the famous this over there, Gurdwara. Himkund Sahib in Himachal Pradesh, and then you will find the hot springs over there right next to the Gurdwara and the river Parvati flowing right next to that. Okay, famous site. I'm sure you all have seen that. So all those major places of pilgrimage and 5 major prayags, all the 5 major prayags are found within these Himalayas. Okay, you have the Vishnu Prayag, Nanda Prayag, Karna Prayag, Rudra Prayag, and the Dev Prayag. Okay, ठीक है? All right. Moving on, you go to the Darjeeling. Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, you go to the Darjeeling and Sikkim Himalayas. Okay. Darjeeling and Sikkim Himalayas, Nepal and Bhutan के बीच में lie करते हैं. Okay. So you are talking of this region, only very specifically this part of the region. This part. Okay. Itna sa will be Sikkim Himalayas. That will be the Sikkim Himalayas for you. Okay. Now, okay. Now this entire Himalayas is characterized by very high mountain peaks and very deep valleys. Okay, that is what you'll see: very high mountain peaks and very deep valleys. Okay, the rivers are very fast flowing because they run along very steep slopes. So the rivers are very fast flowing like the Tista, and this area is very famous for the tea cultivations. Okay. Because you have moderate slopes over here, very thick soil cover usually because the slopes are, the slopes are usually, tableland slopes are not that thick, that sort of thing, and high organic content because there are enough trees. So there will be enough humus content in the soil also, okay? And a well-distributed rainfall. This is not that region where you get rain only between June to September. It rains throughout the year. For one reason or another, you will get well-distributed rainfall throughout the year. Excellent for tea cultivation. Absolutely excellent for tea cultivation. And the winters are not very, very cold, okay? The winters are considerably mild. So that works very well for the tea, okay? Tea does not require climates to be hot. It requires the climate to be a little mild, a little cold, cooler, but the winter should not be very, very freezing winters nahi chalte tea ko. Okay, that is not how tea works. So clearly mild winters, well-distributed rainfall, very good soil, very good quality of soil with high organic content and moderate slopes works for tea cultivation. Okay. दिस इज दैट यहाँ से यू विल बिगिन कि शिवालिक्स बंद हो जाते हैं आपके. अब दार्जिलिंग, सिक्किम, अरुणाचल हिमालयस, पूर्वाचल हिमालयस, you do not get Shivaliks anymore. Shivaliks were only restricted to northwestern Himalayas, and then the best Shivalik formations you find in the Himachal, Uttaranchal. Okay, the further you move towards the east, the Shivalik ranges start to disappear. You do not see any Shivalik ranges. So now from Darjeeling, Sikkim, Arunachal, and then to Purvachal Himalayas, you will not see any Shivalik ranges. Okay, there is one very interesting geographical feature here. We call it the Duars. Okay, Duar is a mispronunciation of the Hindi word Dwar or door. Okay, now this geographical feature is basically a plain sort of a region. Okay, between the mountains or mountain passes or somewhere, you find a plain sort of a region just below in the foreland of the mountains. Okay, and it is completely filled up with sediments of the rivers. Okay, so it is a plain, fertile region where a lot of cultivation can be done, and clearly that is the only, how do you say, accessible region. The rest is all mountains and peaks, right? So to travel through that, you have to go through this Duar peaks. Okay, these plains are the only way you get through the mountains, get to the mountains. Okay, that is why these were called as gateways or Dwars, and mispronunciation or a this of that has been misspelling of that has been Duar. Okay, now this can be spelled as Duars, Duars, or Doors, Duars. Okay, so do not confuse yourself, it's just a different spelling, but Duars is essentially this part. These are fertile plains at the foothills of the mountains, and they serve as gateways or doors to the hills. Okay, पीछे जो hills है उसकी तरफ जाते हैं आप. Then you have the Lepcha tribes. Okay, over here famous tribe है, तो Lepcha tribe है आपका. And these places are very well known for their scenic beauty and high flora and fauna. Okay, you get various types of orchids over here, है ना, वो बहुत famous होते हैं, यहाँ के orchids बहुत famous है. All right, that is the Darjeeling, Sikkim, Himalayas. Okay, this is just so not happening. Good, we are on. Next, you go to the Arunachal Himalayas. Okay, Arunachal Himalayas lie between Bhutan and Difu Pass. चलो जी, ये भी देख लेते हैं. ये रहा भूटान का बाउंड्री. So we are from here, and ये रहा आपका Difu Pass. Okay, this is the Difu Pass, right? So we are saying this is the region between which the Arunachal Himalayas lie. Okay, Arunachal is a part, so we are talking about the Arunachal region. Okay, so we are saying that is the Arunachal Himalayas. You will mostly find an absence of the Shivalik over here. Once again, Shivaliks are absent. That is a prominent feature over here. कि Shivaliks नहीं मिलते हैं आपको. Significant peaks है दो. एक नामचा बरवा, दूसरा कांगटू. Okay, नामचा बरवा lies in the above outside India. अरुणाचल के बाहर चाइना में lie करता है. कांगटू is something that we have a problem with China. Okay, China कांगटू और हम share करते हैं, and then of course there is a ownership issue there. Okay, थोड़ा सा issue है वहाँ पे कांगटू के साथ. Now it is characterized by perennial fast-flowing rivers with deep gorges. Okay, once again steep slopes मिलते हैं, high peaks मिलते हैं, तो बहुत fast flow करते हैं rivers क्योंकि clearly बहुत steep slopes से नीचे आते हैं. Okay, and deep gorges होते हैं उनके यहाँ पे. So high rate of fall है. If clearly these are the conditions, then you will find the greatest hydroelectric power potential in the country over here. Okay, and the various rivers over here will be coming. So Bansiri, you people at the back, stand up and go to the back. White shirt, maybe. I don't know what color shirt you're wearing. Kaming, Subhanseri, Dihang, Dibang, and Lohit. Okay, those are the rivers over here. Very rugged topography you will find here. So most interactions will be through the Dua region. People, you cannot see, there is a reason why this region does not have a lot of railway stations. If you've noticed, every time we have a railway station or a railway project going on over there, it's a huge hike. The reason being the topography is so difficult to get through. You will mostly find hills, very narrow passages. You can't even, how do you lay down a railway line? Okay, it is far easier to get an airport over there than to go ahead and form a railway line. Okay, so clearly this place, because it has a very rugged topography, the only interaction that can happen is through the Dua region. Okay, it can only happen through the Dua region. And remember these tribes here, the Monpa, Dafla, Abor, Mishmi, Nishi, Naga. These are the major tribes over here. Okay, you know there are hills over there that are named like this. So the hills are named after the tribes. It is not vice versa. It is not the tribes which are named after the hills. Normally, what happens is people belong to a certain region, and so they acquire the name of that region. Over here, it is exact opposite. The hills are named after the tribes. Okay, the physiological features or the hills will be named after the people. Okay, and these people practice drumming or shifting cultivation. Okay, this is a famous thing over here in northeast India, drumming or shifting cultivation. And the very last, you come to the Purvachal Himalayas. Okay, Purvachal Himalayas जो है उनका the orientation is from north to south. Okay, this is how the hills go. Here are my Purvachal. See this. This is how the hills go. Can you see? They go from north to south. That is the orientation. Okay, the Purvachal hills will be from north to south. So we are saying that in different places they are called by different names. They will be called the Pattaibom, Naga, or Manipur hills in the north, depending on which state they are in, and the Mizo or Lushai hills in the south. Okay, that is what they usually get called as. And they are very low hills that are separated by numerous rivers. Of course, there will be plenty of hills and there will be plenty of rivers flowing or cutting right across these hills. So you will find that some kind of a thing over here. Barak happens to be a very important river in this particular region. Clearly, tribal groups practice drumming over here also. There is one very important feature here, the Loktak Lake. Okay, so the Loktak Lake is a famous largest freshwater lake in Northeast India. Loktak Lake in Manipur. You keep getting this question, right? The Loktak Lake lies in which state? The reason why this lake is so famous is because not only just because it is scenic, because it features the world's only floating national park. Okay, let me show you how that looks like. Punjab. What will be a good picture? This would be a good picture. Can you see this picture? Can you see this grass and a little bit of soil and stuff that is floating on the water? Huh? Can you see this? Yeah. So this is exactly what we call as a floating national park. You can't see it with the lights over. You can see it, right? So we are saying this is the floating national park. Okay, this is the only floating park in the world. We are saying that over here, what you will essentially find is this kind of this is a very unique. How do you say now? It's not a weed exactly. It is grass. It is grass, and below that you will find a little soil. Okay, and it is basically biomass. Okay, so all sorts of biomass that is how do you say floating on the water. Okay, now you will find a famous deer over here, which is called as the Sangai deer. Okay, and these formations that you can see, they are famously called as the Fumdi. I'll just write it down, people. We are saying Fumdi is the grass, okay, and Sangai is the deer. Okay, over here. It's a very specific kind of a deer that is found over here. So that deer is called as the Sangai. Okay, that deer gets called as Sangai. Remember the names of people. Fumdi is the grass on which this deer dances. Actually, the deer doesn't really dance. What happens is the the grass is going to keep moving up and down, right? So when you see the sangai from a distance, you feel that the deer is dancing, right? It's not really dancing. It's one of the vulnerable categories. We are looking for this. We are really watching out for this deer because the numbers are dwindling. Okay, the numbers are clearly dwindling. So that is the thing. So this is Kebul Lamjaw over here. Okay. Lastly, you come to Molas Basin. Okay. Mizoram is famously called as a molas basin, which is made up of unconsolidated deposits. Now, molas basin would be, once again, if when a mountain forms, okay, so because the mountain is being formed, because the earth is being, pushed together, what happens is at the base of the mountain, usually a kind of a depression forms. Okay, that is how physics works. So we are saying that as and how this mountain is being formed, at the base of the mountain in the foreland region, clearly a small sort of a depression is created, and this depression gets filled up with all sorts of sediments from the rivers, sometimes from the glaciers, depending on what sort of region you are in. Okay, so usually when these are filled up, they are usually called as the molas basin. A very famous molas basin would actually appear in the Alps. Alps का molas basin ज़्यादा famous है. लेकिन हमारे यहाँ पे मिजोरम is famously called as a molas basin. Okay, other rivers in this region will be Nagaland के rivers जो mostly ब्रह्मपुत्र को join करते हैं. मिजोरम and मणिपुर के rivers जो see this. Nagaland के rivers mostly ब्रह्मपुत्र की तरफ आएंगे. Okay, they'll come this way. Then Manipur and Mizoram ke rivers will actually go and join the Barak, okay, which in turn will join the Meghna, which of course will go into the Brahmaputra, and eastern Manipur will go into the Chindwin, which is a eastern Manipur will go outside India, okay. So we are saying eastern Manipur ke rivers go and join the Chindwin, which is a tributary of the Irrawaddy, okay. Is this clear, people? You know where the water is flowing now? Okay, that finishes. No, that does not finish everything. Now we go to the Himalayan peaks, okay. Himalayan peaks के लिए मैं आपको एक बार दिखा देती हूँ how the peaks look like. But after that, it is up to you if you how to remember them. I'll tell you what sort of questions to expect. You will be asked to arrange these peaks from west to east, okay, or from north to south. All right. Usually, when they ask you to arrange peaks from north to south, it is mostly about peninsular plateau where the peaks are placed far away. You guy, hello. What is that guy's name? Come and sit here in the front, in the very front. ओके तो यार ये इंसान के पास बैठेंगे ना तो आप बातें करेंगे पीछे मुड़ के बातें ना कीजिए ओके so we are here we are saying ki peaks ko the usual questions that you can expect on this is ki you will arrange the peaks from west to east or east to west or north to south south to north this is one way of doing this very rarely I have seen UPSC ask you questions about which peaks lie in India or which do not okay for example this entire part, this Dholagiri, Annapurna, Panas, Luch, Foyu, Everest, Lhotse, Makalu, these peaks do not lie in India, right? You should know this by now, that these peaks do not lie in India. Another question about peaks is which mountain range they belong to, okay? For example, you talk of say Broad Peak or K2 or Gasherbrum peaks जो है वो clearly Karakoram system का part है, okay? They are part of the Karakoram ranges, okay? Now if you're going to talk about say the Kamet, Mana, Kailash, Trishul, Nanda Devi, Kedarnath वगैरह ये सारे अगर आप बात करेंगे तो ये Greater Himalayas का part है, okay? It is part of the Greater Himalayas. So this is the kind of questions you can expect on peaks, okay? And I am telling you how that is, but you will have to remember it in your own way, okay? ठीक है? Now we begin from the westernmost part of the Himalayas. Okay, here is K2, the second highest peak in the world. We are saying this belongs to the Karakoram range. Okay, with K2 you have Broad Peak and both Gasherbrums. Okay, those are all K2. Those are all from the Karakoram range. Okay, come a little lower, you will find the Nanga Parbat, right, around which the Himalayas will take a syntactical bed. POK region में है, we do not claim that, okay? So Nanga Parbat happens to lie in Pakistan. That is Nanga Parbat over here. Nunkun is famous. Nunkun हमारे यहाँ का famous mountain है. It's a twin thing. So वो Nunkun बुलाते हैं उसको, okay? दो mountains मिलते हैं आपको पास-पास में. So that is Nunkun over here, okay? Red से पता चलेगा कि आपको कोई और रंग ले लूं? Green visible है, blue visible होगा. Blue is visible to you. Okay. So this we say is Nunkul. Okay. Below that, now this is all in the Kashmir region. Can you make out? ये सब कुछ Kashmir region में था. Okay. Now you come a little lower, and here you are in the Uttarakhand region. Okay. Now you have the Kamet, Mana, and the Kailash peaks over here. Okay. Sorry, not Kailash. Sorry, Nanda Devi peaks over here. Kamet, Mana, and Nanda Devi over here. Just a little below, in the southern next part, you have Bandirpunch, jahan se usually the Yamuna starts, and then the Kedarnath and Trishul. Okay, Trishul because it has those three peaks famously. That is how the mountain looks like. So that these are the six major peaks over here. Okay, ठीक है. Move out. Now you're going out of India. Okay. ये कैलाश दिख रहा है आपको क्लियरली चाइना में लाई करता है ये द कैलाश मानसरोवर यात्रा इज समथिंग दैट यू हैव टू सिक्योर परमिशंस फ्रॉम चाइना राइट यू डोंट गेट जस्ट अ परमिशन फ्रॉम इंडिया यू हैव टू गो इनटू चाइनीज लैंड फॉर दैट so clearly वो रहा कैलाश यहाँ पे okay then this is the Nepal part of it Dholagiri Annapurna you have the Manaslu over here and then you have the Shisha Pangma okay this is the Choayu wait a second this is the Choayu over here okay Everest right next to it this is the Lhotse this is Makalu and then on the border of India and Nepal you find Kanchenjunga okay that is Kanchenjunga मिला सबसे ईस्ट में Kanchenjunga. Now we are going to look only at the eastern parts of this country, okay? Only eastern Himalayas. Can you see this is Sikkim and this is Nepal, okay? On the border of it, you find the Kanchenjunga, okay? Move to Arunachal Pradesh. We spoke of Kangtu. Remember, Kangtu is a famous disputed peak between India and Arunachal, India and China. So that is Kangtu over here. Can you make out Kangtu over here? That is Kangtu. It's a tall enough peak, okay? You can see the Namcha Barwa over here, around which the Brahmaputra and the Himalayas will both turn southwards. Okay. Now look at these hills. ये hills जो है, इसको पहले यूपीएससी हैज आस्क्ड यू टू अरेंज देम फ्रॉम वेस्ट टू ईस्ट वगैरह या नॉर्थ टू साउथ, ऐसे कभी तो उन्होंने अरेंज करने को बोला है आपको. ओके, सो पे गुड अटेंशन टू दोस. डफला, मिरी, अबोर, मिश्मी, these are the hills. Okay, you have the Dafla, Miri, Abor and Mishmi hills. Okay, fine. Now these are the, and this finally you come to the Purvachal range. So in different places they get called by different names. But Kaibum, you have the Naga hills, the Barail range and the Mizo or Lushai hills. Okay, these are the different hills or ranges or peaks. Do you have those? Are we good? Okay. Once again, questions पूछते हैं इसलिए टेबल बना के दिया है. NCERT does not, no NCERT book will have this table. The reason why I have mentioned this is because sometimes they ask you which peak lies in which particular range or which particular state or something like that. Okay, so you need to be careful over here. Mount Everest is generally considered as the highest peak ever that lies in Greater Himalayas. Okay, the other peaks that lie in Greater Himalayas are Kanchenjunga, Lhotse, Makalu, Dhaulagiri, Manaslu, Nanga Parbat, Annapurna, and okay. Actually, fine, we are good over here. Okay, Karakoram happens. Karakoram and the Gasherbrum and Broad Peak are all in K2, Gasherbrum and Broad Peak all line Karakoram. Okay, okay. Now this one should ideally we should consider K2, but that is POK region, so we do not consider that the tallest peak. That is contested, right? Kanchenjunga is shared between India and Nepal. Even though ideally, अगर आपको पूछा जाए India, which is India's tallest peak, you should ideally go with Kanchenjunga. Okay, even though it is shared between India and Nepal. If you're asked a question which was asked sometime in your mock exams, which is the peak, which is the tallest peak in India, which lies entirely within India, then you clearly go with Nanda Devi. Okay, then you will go with Nanda Devi. Is this good? हाँ, तो वो अभी यहाँ देखिए, ये नंदा जितने भी उत्तराखंड के माउंटेन्स है ना या पीक्स है, whether you consider the Nanda Devi or the Kamet, Mana, Nunkun, no, not Nunkun, Kangto, या फिर एक मिनट त्रिशूल केदारनाथ बांदरपुंज. Okay, so we are talking of these Nanda Devi, Kamet, Mana and Trishul Kedarnath Bandarpunj. ये जो है, they are famously called as the Gadwal Himalayas. Now try to understand, जैसे हम कश्मीर हिमालयास बोलते हैं वैसे हम गढ़वाल हिमालयास बोलते हैं. ओके, ये रीजनल पीक्स है, अभी हम रीजन के हिसाब से डिवाइड कर रहे हैं इसको. ओके, बट ये सारे ग्रेटर हिमालयास की रेंज में लाई करते हैं. यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हेन आई टॉक ऑफ regional Himalayas and Himalayan ranges, right? Himalayan ranges meaning we are talking of greater Himalayas followed by lesser Himalayas followed by Shimalayas. Okay, so we are seeing all of these peaks ideally lie in the greater Himalayas. Okay, but when you talk of regions, you talk of say Kashmir Himalayas or you talk of Gadwal Himalayas. So when we say Nanda Devi lies in the Gadwal Himalayas, we are agreeing to the fact that Nanda Devi actually lies in the greater Himalayas, but we are specifically talking about the Gadwal region. Okay, okay. Come to remember, it is contested between India and China. See, we have everything over here. We are good. Huh? Okay. Next, you come to another important thing. We are looking at passes. Once again, when you look at passes, there are 2 or 3 ways in which this question is asked. One, match the pass with the state. Okay, so you should know which passes lie in Jammu Kashmir, which passes are in Ladakh, which passes lie in Himachal or Uttaranchal or Arunachal Pradesh region. Okay, that is the one thing. Or Sikkim region. Sikkim also has 2 passes. So you will have to match passes according to the state or union territory they lie in. Secondly, a way in which the passes are asked is which mountain range do they cross through. Okay, so if for example Khardungla is Ladakh, so you know कि वो वहाँ पे lie करता है. So that match the mountain range with the pass as well. And then a third and a very complicated question is, you will be given a pass and you will be asked to match which regions it connects. Which 2 regions does the pass connect? Okay, that is one way in which it is done. So in the last mock-up exam, I saw that you've been asked कि which pass connects which 2 regions. Okay, for example, in fact आपको दिया गया था कि there were 2 regions to connect and आपको बोला गया था इसमें से कौन सा pass इन दोनों को connect करता है. So these are the 3 major ways in which the questions on passes can be asked. Let's look at these passes. Okay, हम पहले ना state wise passes देख लेते हैं and then let's get knowing them. Mintaka Pass, can you see this over here? That is the Mintaka Pass. Okay, over here you have the Parpik Pass, the Khunjera Pass, Agil Pass. Agil Pass is famous. That is an important region to know. वो ना India का connection है with the Xinjiang region in China. So that is important. Okay, so that's Agil Pass for you. This is the Karatagla Pass. Okay, right in the middle of कश्मीर और लद्दाख रीजन, लद्दाख रेंज में आपको यहाँ पे बीच में खारदुंगला मिलता है. ओके, दिस इज द खारदुंगला पास, राइट? Over here, can you see? This is the Burjul Pass. Okay, this is the Burjul Pass, and this one over here is the Zojila. Okay, Greater Himalayas में जो lie करता है, this is the Zojila Pass. Okay, this one is called as the Pencila Pass. Okay, and this one over here, the connection between India and Tibet, that is the Lanakla Pass. Okay, La means pass. That is the local word for pass over there. So we should just call it Lanakla actually. So that is Lanakla. And then over here, you have two major passes, the Pir Panjal and the Banihal Pass. Okay. Now, the Banihal Pass is important because you have the Jawahar Tunnel over there. So that is an important one. Pir Panjal is also important because that will connect you to Kashmir and the rest of the region. है ना? वो आपका connecting pass है. So Pir Panjal Pass also happens to be important. Is this good, people? These are all Kashmir passes. Okay. Move forward. Let's go to Himachal Pradesh wala region. Okay. Next, this is the Himachal Pradesh region. Now, Himachal Pradesh के most passes जो है, they will not connect. Oh, this is the Chagla. Sorry, Kashmir mein we had the Chagla Pass and the Imisla Pass. Okay. Okay, back to Himachal Pradesh. The passes in Himachal Pradesh are for connecting within the state of Himachal Pradesh. Okay, we are not trying to make a connection outside. Okay, that is not for Himachal Pradesh passes. So begin with the Baralachala over here. This is the Baralachala. Followed by this is the Rohtang. Okay, Baralachala will connect Manali to Spiti and forward. Okay, this will this is the Rohtang Pass, okay, famous pass for military and all. So we are saying this will connect the Kulu region to the Spiti region, okay. Then you have the Dipsa Pass, and lastly you have the Shipkila Pass, okay. Shipkila Pass will take you straight to Tibet, okay. That is an important passway to Tibet. All right. Next, you go to the Uttarakhand passes. These are the Uttarakhand passes, okay. You have the Mulingla Pass, the Mana Pass, the Mana Pass, the Niti Pass, and the Lipulek Pass. You see this one? This is the Lipulek, the one on the border of India and Nepal. Once again, the Lipulek Pass is important for connecting with Nepal and for also going towards the Tibet region. So this is Lipulek Pass is the region that you use to go to that Mansarovar Yatra. So if you wish to go to Kailash Mountains, this is the region, this is the pass that you will access, okay? The Lipulek Pass. And then of course you have the Trails Pass over here, okay? Trails Pass का आपको इतना कुछ questions नहीं पूछते हैं. The one way to remember passes is कि आप ना जरा current affairs को watch out कीजिए. Watch out for current affairs. See if the government has started any new pass or closed down any old ones. If weather has affected any of the passes or something, and that should be good enough for you because there are so many passes. How do you know which pass you'll be asked a question on? So keep it as much towards Indian physiography and Indian economics should be kept as much towards current affairs as possible. Okay, जितना current affairs से आप draw कर सकते हो उससे related चीजें उतनी कीजिए. Okay, that is the Lipulek for you. Okay, done now. सिक्किम में दो पासेस मिलते हैं. दिस इज सिक्किम रीजन. ये बाजू में नेपाल पिंकिश कलर का है जो है वो नेपाल है. एंड देन इस रीजन में आपको दो पासेस मिलते हैं. वन इज द नाथुला, ओके, ऊपर की तरफ जो हमने बहुत बहुत साल तक बंद रखा था. वी हैड केप्ट इट क्लोज डाउन फॉर अ वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम. इट इज अ इंटरनेशनल ट्रेडिंग पास बिटवीन इंडिया एंड China. Okay, but we had kept it closed because we used to not be on very good terms with China. Then we reopened it again way back in 2006, okay, some 20 years ago. And then this is Jalapla. Okay, Jalapla is also an important pass. Now you move to the ones in Arunachal Pradesh, and these are all important. First is the Bomdila Pass. Okay, this region, this is the Bomdila Pass towards the west. Okay, western part where you find the Bomdila Pass. Okay, then you have the Dihang Pass over here. The Yongya Pass is not that important. You have the Dihang Pass over here. Can you make out the Dihang Pass over here? This is the Dihang Pass, and this is the Diffu Pass. Diffu Pass is very important. It serves as the tri-junction. You see which area this is in? This serves as a tri-junction pass between India, Myanmar, and Nepal, China. Okay, this is that important pass, Diffu Pass. So it is highly guarded, all-season pass hai, lekin it's very important for us. Okay. Now come forward, thoda niche aaiye. Can you make out the Likhapani Pass over here? This is the Likhapani Pass. Okay. Now this is a all-season pass for trade between India and Nepal. Myanmar. Okay. India-Myanmar trade will be done through this pass mostly. Likhapani Pass. Okay. That is that. Okay, we are good then. We don't need to see the rest of the passes. Okay. Moving forward. Now this is important. We had said Agil Pass jo hota hai, that lies in the Karakoram region, and it connects Ladakh with Xinjiang. Okay, major passes. We are just watching these major passes. We are looking at the Agil Pass. We are saying ये Karakoram region को यहाँ पर चाइना में जो शिनजांग रीजन है उससे कनेक्ट करता है. The reason why this pass is important is because Xinjiang is considered as an extremely politically sensitive region in China. Remember, you have those tribal people living over there जो ethnically match नहीं करते with the Han people in China. So clearly that region is generally considered politically sensitive. Okay, तो ये हमारा connection है with the Xinjiang region. So that is that. Okay, next you move on to that is Agil Pass for you. Then next you have the then बाकी के तो पता है हमको, right? We are talking about the we are talking about the Thangla Pass or the Tangangla Pass, which lies in the Ladakh region. This is a motorable road, one of the highest motorable roads. The Changla, which connects Ladakh to Tibet, that is one important. The Lanakla, which connects Ladakh to Lhasa, that we had already seen. And lastly, you have the Khardungla, which connects. Lastly, you have the Khardungla, which connects Ladakh to which connects Leh and Siachen glaciers. Okay, so this is an important pass. Next, you move on to Kashmir passes. Burjal Pass, that will connect Valley of Kashmir. Where is the Burjal Pass? Okay, this is the Burjal Pass. Okay, वो कश्मीर का connection है with Ladakh. Okay, it is Kashmir's connection with Ladakh. That is the Burjal Pass. Okay. Next, you move on to the Banihal Pass. We have already discussed. वो तो जवाहर टनल वाला pass है ना. So that is a very important region. We say it connects Banihal to Kazigarh. And lastly, you have the Zojila Pass, which connects Srinagar with Kargil and Leh. Okay, Kargil and Leh से connection होता है उसका. Striped shirt, back. Go and stand back. तो आप उनको बता रहे हो? अच्छा. Zojila is going to connect Srinagar with Kargil and Leh. Okay, where is Zojila now? Zojila is going to connect with Srinagar with Kargil and Leh. Okay, we are connecting this pass. We are looking at the Zojila Pass in the Great Himalayas. Okay, so you have the यहाँ पर आपके पास रेंज है, लोकेशन है और कौन सा पास कौन सी दो जगह को कनेक्ट करता है उसकी इंफॉर्मेशन है. ओके, इफ यू आर नॉट पेइंग अटेंशन नाउ, प्लीज लुक एट इट लेटर. Himachal Pradesh में you have three important passes: the Baralachala, Rohtang, and the Shivkila Pass. Okay, like I said, Baralachala will connect Manali to Leh. Rohtang will connect Kulu to Spiti and Lahul. Okay, and you have Shivkila is an important border trading pass. Remember, मैंने कहा था ये यहाँ से तो आप सीधा बाहर चले जाओगे, है ना, तिब्बत की तरफ. This is where you will go. So you will connect. This will connect this Indian region to the Tibet region. Okay, that is going to be the Shivkila Pass. Go further forward. You go to Uttarakhand. Okay, Uttarakhand में three major passes है: माना, नीति and लिपुलेख. Okay, ये तीनों connections आपका तिब्बत से करवाता है. All three passes will connect you to Tibet. Okay, black shirt, back. No, not you. The guy behind you. You come and stand over here. I don't want you standing over there with your friends and talking more. You want to leave? Bye bye. Okay, Mana Pass is located in Greater Himalayas, and Mana, Niti, and Lipulek, all three important passes. They are your connection to Tibet. Okay, please remember this is the Indian connection to Tibet. And Lipulek को याद रखना जरूरी है because Lipulek Pass is going to be the Mansarovar Pass, right? It is the Mansarovar pilgrimage pass. So please remember that. And then Sikkim. Okay. Sikkim may you have two major passes like we discussed, the Nathula and the Jalapla. Nathula Pass is the one that used to be a part of the Silk Route. The Purana Silk Route जो था, ancient Silk Route, उसका part हुआ करता था. Remember the details? We had closed it down for many years for political reasons, and then we reopened it way back in 2006. Okay, it's a border trading post. To realize the importance of border trading post, it is not like all the major interactions are going to happen over there, but a lot of people stay on these border villages, right? So daily necessities or simple things and all, they will usually procure it through these border trading posts. Okay, we are not talking of major financial transactions. We are talking of daily necessities and keeping the local economy alive. That is why keeping these passes open is necessary. When you all question me that we are fighting a war with Pakistan, we are fighting a war with China, why do we keep passes open? Why is the trade open? Why are we not closing down everything? That is the reason. You cannot let every other person in the country be affected by this war. The wars can be fought on a larger scale, but these local economies cannot be shut down because we are closing down these border trading posts. Okay, that is not advisable, not reasonable, not practical. So we don't go into that. Okay. So here we are, Nakula and Jalipla. We are saying this is Jalipla is Sikkim's connection to Lhasa or Tibet. Once again, politically sensitive region, important pass for us. And clearly you have the Nakula, which is a trading post. Okay. Move on forward to the ones in Arunachal Pradesh. You have four major passes in Arunachal Pradesh: the Bomdila, Dihang, Likhapani, and Difu. Okay. Okay. Sorry. That's fine. See where the Bomdila Pass lies. Okay, this is your Indian connection with the Tibet region, with Lhasa. Okay, so Bomdila Pass is India's connection with Lhasa. Okay, next you go to the Dihang Pass. Okay, the Dihang Pass is India's connection to Mandalay. Okay, or Mandalay, Myanmar के साथ वाला connection है. Once again, ये जो लिखापनी का pass है, that's an all-season open pass. Okay, that is one very important pass. It's a very important trading post. Okay, वो that is our default pass when we want to trade with Myanmar. Okay, that's a default border trading post. Okay, and then this Diffu Pass, important pass because it's a tri-junction. Okay, because it lies at the tri-junction area between India, Myanmar, and China. Okay, so that is also a trading pass and important pass for us. Okay, the Diffu Pass. ऑल सीजन पास है वो तो मकमान लाइन पे लाई करता है. यू विल हैव टू रिमेंबर इट दैट वे. वो मकमान लाइन पे लाई करता है. हमारा जो बॉर्डर है वो हो गया है हमारा माउंटेन्स. लेट्स गो एंड लुक एट क्वेश्चंस नाउ. ओके, लेट्स सी इफ वी हैव क्वेश्चंस बेस्ड ऑन नॉर्थ इंडियन माउंटेन्स. ये वाला बताइए, 20 वाला. Which of the following mountain passes forms the tri-junction of India, China, and Myanmar? Nathula, Jalipla, Bomdila, Diffu. Diffu Pass. Diffu Pass forms the mountain which is the tri-junction area. Okay. Okay जी. Match कीजिए. Himachal, Uttarakhand, Arunachal, Ladakh, and you have Likhapani, Lipulekh, Shipkila, and Khardungla. हिमाचल प्रदेश का पास कौन सा है इसमें से? सी शिपकिला. यस, वेरी गुड. शिपकिला इज हिमाचल प्रदेश वाला पास. उत्तराखंड का कौन सा? सेकंड, लिपुलेख. लिपुलेख, वेरी गुड. लिपुलेख इज उत्तराखंड का पास है. अरुणाचल का फर्स्ट ए, लिखापनी. हाँ. एंड लद्दाख का खरदुंगला. मैंने आपसे कहा था ना, ख ख याद रखती हूँ मैं उसको. लद्दाख एंड खरदुंगला ऐसे. दैट्स हाउ आई रिमेंबर इट. जोजिला इज एनीवेज गोइंग टू बी दिस. ठीक है, तो ये क्या होना चाहिए अभी? सी बी. थर्ड का क्या है? ए एंड डी. सी बी ए डी. दिस ऑप्शन सी. Which of the following is not a feature of the Purvachal Himalayas? Loktak Lake, Dun Formations, Mulas Basin, or Barak River? You, sir, the one with the glasses. Can you answer this question? Which of the following is not a feature of the Purvachal Himalayas? Loktak Lake, Dun Formations, Mulas Basin, or Barak River? The one behind you. Can you answer this question? What are you wearing? Maroon colored shirt, I think, if I'm not wrong. Something really dark he's wearing. What is the guy behind you? The guy behind you, make him stand up. I can't see him properly. Can you answer this question? Question number 22. Which of the following is not a feature of the Purvachal Himalayas? Can you? No. Yeah, the person sitting next to you. Can you answer this question? I'm just verifying something that I have been doubting from the very beginning of the class. Can you answer the question? जवाब आता है या नहीं आता है? बोलिए, आता है जवाब? नहीं. आप बताइए. ब्लैक शर्ट, ब्लैक हुडी. खड़े हो जाइए. पीछे के दो. आता है जवाब? Okay, which one of you, the rest of you would like to answer? Dune formations. Dune formations is not a physical feature of the Purvachal Himalayas. Dune formations is a very interesting feature that you find in the Kashmir Himalayas and in the Uttaranchal Himachal Himalayas, है ना, वहां मिलते हैं आपको डून फॉर्मेशंस. अब यू डू नॉट गेट दीज इन पूर्वाचल हिमालयस. पूर्वाचल हिमालयस में आपको डून फॉर्मेशंस नहीं मिलेंगे, शिवालिक्स नहीं मिलेंगे. शिवालिक्स में पूर्वाचल हिमालयस का एक ऐसी इंपॉर्टेंट चीज क्या है जो आपको कहीं और नहीं मिलती? डुआर्स, राइट? यू आर गेटिंग दोस डुआर्स, दोस फॉर्मेशंस यू आर गेटिंग समवेयर एल्स. एंड कारीवा फॉर्मेशंस कहाँ मिलते हैं? कश्मीर हिमालयस में. ओके, जस्ट रिमेंबर दैट पार्ट. We are going with dune formations. Sit down, people. Sit down. You're not paying attention is not a problem for me. Anji, morass basin meaning when a mountain is formed, so usually at the foothill of the very mountain, that the foreland region gets depressed a little. Okay. Now, usually those depressions fill up with some sort of sediments, rivers, say, or glaciers, say, whatever glacial silt or rivers silt is usually filled up over here. This becomes level land. The land becomes level, plains ban jata hai. And that is usually called as a morass basin. A far important, like I told you earlier, the far important example of this will be found in the Alps forelands. Okay, a morass basin. This one. Which one of the following statements is incorrect? Himalayas are the youngest and most stable physiographic division of India. Himalayas are formed by the folding of the crust at the convergent plate boundary of Indian and Eurasian plates. Shivalik range is said to be formed by the sediments deposited in the Tethys Sea. And Great Himalayas are also called as Himadri. Oh, okay. Samjha. Haan. Third one. Third is a problem. Shivalik Hills wala you're saying is a problem. Shivalik range is said to be formed by the sediments deposited in the Tethys Sea. वही से बनता है ना. We said ना कि Shivalik is supposed to be an unconsolidated range. Because वो पूरा sediment से बना है. What we said earlier was कि ये बने Himalayas. Okay. फिर उसके यहाँ पे एक geosyncline. Okay, this we called as the geosyncline. This geosyncline got filled up by the sediments that were brought by the rivers. Okay, वो flat land बन गया. And then next time जब वो वापस compression हुआ, तो ये वाला geosyncline flattened was formed into the Shivalik range. Okay, so we are saying हाँ वो Tethys Sea है and उसी का बना है वो. So we go with this statement is correct. Great Himalayas को हिमाद्री बोलते हैं. हाँ जी, बोलते हैं. Himalayas are formed by the folding of the crust at the convergent plate boundary. Indian Eurasian plates का convergent boundary है, वहां पे folding हो रहा है crust का. इस statement में problem क्या है? They are the youngest. They are not stable. They are in fact very, very unstable. Remember, they are very subject to all sorts of volcanic and seismic activity. So these are not this is not the most stable physiographic division. If you were looking for the most stable physiographic division, that would have to be the Peninsular Plateau. That is pretty stable. Okay. But Himalayas do happen, and Himalayas को सबसे youngest physiographic division भी नहीं बोल सकते. Ideally, Ganga Plains को बोलना चाहिए हमने youngest physiographic division, right? So this statement is wrong. Okay. अरे ये तो सारी अपने. Himalayas bend sharply to the south of the eastern side around Manaslu, Kanchenjunga, Lhotse, Namcha Parva. Eastern side पे Namcha Parva. Absolutely correct. Eastern side पे it's going to be Namcha Parva. Okay. And question 25. The lesser Himalayas are locally known as the Dhauladhar in Himachal Pradesh, and Sikkim Himalayas are noted for their absence of the Shivalik range. Both are correct. Both are correct. Absolutely. Both statements are correct. Himachal Pradesh में lesser Himalayas, which is the second range of the Himalayas, that would be known as Dhauladhar. And in Uttarakhand, it is called as the Nagtiba. So the first statement is correct. And Sikkim Himalayas are noted for their absence of the Shivalik range. This is also very, very correct. Okay. It's been an hour since we started. You guys take a 5 minute break. Let me confirm if we are continuing or not. Okay, do not move out of the classroom. Do not roam around the building. Let's stand deeply. The next physiographic division that we are going to cover is called as the Great Indian Plains. Okay. Now, when we are looking at the Great Indian Plains, we are looking at this particular region. Okay. Can you see this just below the mountains? Okay. There is a vast strip of land that will run parallel to the mountains, parallel to the Himalayas. And that entire region is going to be a little flattish. Okay. That is what we are calling the Great Indian Plains. Okay. Now, these plains are divided into two types. One, either you move according to east to west part. Okay, so you go from the west straight up to east and divide it into various regions, or then you go from the north to south. Okay, that is one way of, but that is another way of division. So from west to east, these plains will be the ones in Rajasthan. Okay, this is the plains in Rajasthan. So we are talking of the Rajasthan plains first. Moving forward to the Punjab plains. Okay, then we go to the Punjab plains. Then obviously the Ganga plains itself get divided into three parts: the Upper Ganga, the Middle Ganga, and the Lower Ganga plains. And lastly, you have the Brahmaputra plains. Tell your friend I'm watching her. Okay. So lastly, you have the Brahmaputra plains, okay, in Assam. In the Assam region, you have the Brahmaputra plains. Okay, that is the division of these plains from west to east. Okay, this is the sideways division. And now if you're looking at the north to south division, then it can be done as straight at the foothills of the mountains. So say for example, if this is the Himalayas, okay, if you're talking of this is the Himalayas, then usually the belt which is closest to the Himalayas, exactly at the foothills, is famously called as the Bhabar belt. Okay. And then below that, you get the Terai belt. Okay, and then after that you usually get the Khadar belt. Okay, and then after the Khadar belt you get the delta sorry, Bangar. So what am I saying, man? Wait a minute. Say suppose these are the Himalayas. Okay, at the very base you will get the Bhabar. Okay, then below the Bhabar you will get the Terai. Okay, below the Terai you will usually get the Bangar, and then below the Bhangar you get the Khadar, and after the Khadar you will finally find the delta. Okay, that is generally how this belt works. Okay, so the north to south division of the belts is going to be like this. The plains is going to be like this. Okay, that is the division. That is the way in which this is going to happen. Now, moving forward, here we are. Let's take a general idea or general features of the Great Indian Plains will be the length is around 2,400 kilometers. Once again, since UPSC, since NCRT dares to mention this fact, you guys need to remember it. Okay, not my concern how you remember it. Width is going to be anywhere around 240 to 320 kilometers. The depth is around 1 to 2 kilometers. Okay, the general elevation is 50 to 150 meters above mean sea level, and the extent would be. You guys have a problem at the back. What are you guys trying to get? Why are you talking? Man, it is so difficult to get any information from you. आप बातें क्यों कर रहे हैं? क्या चाहिए आपको सर? हेलो, आपसे बातें कर रही हूँ मैं। हाँ जी, ठीक है, नो प्रॉब्लम। एक्सटेंट इज ऊपर की तरफ नॉर्थ में हिमालयाज मिलते हैं, इन द साउथ यू हैव द पेनिनसुलर प्लेटो, इन द वेस्ट यू हैव द राजस्थान डेजर्ट, एंड टुवर्ड्स द ईस्ट यू हैव द असम प्लेन्स. ओके, सो दैट इज व्हाट यू से. Now, usually, is the most striking feature of this plains is that it is very flat. It is absolutely reliefless. आपको कोई relief ही नहीं दिखता है यहाँ पे. Okay, you do not find any sort of relief. It is very, very featureless. The entire plains are very featureless. Okay. Now let's go with that division of the Punjab, Ganga, and Brahmaputra plains. Okay, this is what we do. Punjab plains are called so because of the five rivers. Okay, hence the name Punjab comes from it. Okay, it is characterized by doabs. The land between two rivers is famously called as a doab, and you will find multiple such rivers that are running parallel to each other. So many doabs also you find over there. Okay, so the names of all those doabs we'll study when we check out drainage of India. Okay. It's a usually homogeneous landscape. Everything is pretty same wherever you go. The entire landscape looks very similar. One important word here is chos. Okay, chos are those streams that will come down from the mountains at the foothills of the mountains. They erode the mountains, foothills of the mountains very heavily, and they form a gully and ravine landscape. Okay, gully and ravine landscape. कैसे यार दिखाऊं मैं आपको? रुकिए जरा. I'll show you what a gully and ravine landscape looks like. It's heavily eroded. Um, very good. This is a fantastic. Can you see this? This is an absolutely great gully and ravine landscape. Okay, so you're essentially saying gullies are smaller streams. Okay, you're not talking of larger rivers. You're not talking of narrower rivers. You're simply talking of a stream of water. It is voluble enough, but it can erode the land. Okay, so you can see these various places where the gullies have eroded it, and then of course there's the ravine. We are not talking of an entire valley. We are simply talking of a ravine. Okay, a small depression, a small gadda, ditch, depression types. Okay, that is what we are looking at. So this is what you usually call as a gully and ravine landscape. Okay, so they form this, and of course there is the Indus and Ganga river system that gets divided by the Haryana Delhi water divide. Okay, see people, this part of the region, we are saying this region, it has been uplifted a little. Okay, even to this part, we can say in the northwestern part of India, in the Pakistan part, we are saying what we call as the Potwar Plateau. Okay, so that happened. The Potwar Plateau uplift happened. So clearly, this Delhi Ridge also rose. Okay, we are saying the Delhi Ridge also rose, and because the Delhi Ridge rose, it acted as a water divider. Okay, earlier we believe that there used to be a single river, the Indus and the Brahmaputra were combined, and this river used to flow straight down eastwards. Okay, that was the original story. Then what happened? This Potwar Plateau uplift happened, and because of that, the Delhi Ridge also started rising up. And this whole sequence has generated in this following landscape that the Ganga River flows this way and the Indus River flows this way. Okay, so Indus goes towards the Arabian Sea, Ganga does not go here, but Ganga clearly goes. I'll make that correction. वरना लोग बोलेंगे गंगा को मैंने ऐसे, this is the Ganga. Okay, so we are saying the Ganga flows this way to the Bay of Bengal, and the Indus River drainage goes towards Arabian Sea. Okay, so this happened because of the Delhi Ridge or the Potwar Plateau uplift. So we are saying because you have a water divide in the form of the Delhi Haryana Ridge, so clearly you have this splitting of the rivers. The rivers split up and went their own ways in two different directions. Okay, so that is what we are saying, and that is what has made the Punjab plains full of those Indus drainage. Okay, the Punjab plains are full of Indus drainage. Next, you go to the Ganga Plains. Okay, Ganga Plains are the largest unit of Indian plains made by Ganga and its tributaries. All tributaries of Ganga are over here. We are saying you have the features are usually you find frequent flooding and large scale alluvium deposition. You'll find the slope is towards the east or the southeast. Okay, that is the slope of the land, and you will find since the rivers bring in so much silt, you will find a lot of sandbars, meanders, oxbow lakes, graded channels, shifting river courses. जहां जहां सिल्ट डिपॉजिट हो जाएगा वहां वहां रिवर स्प्लिट होके डिस्ट्रीब्यूटरीज बना लेगा या फिर ऑक्सबो लेक्स बना लेगा. This is a very famous. In fact, you find a lot of these in Uttarakhand, right? You find a lot of these features in Uttarakhand also. So you are saying ki you will find plenty of these features in the plains. Okay, and lastly you come to the Brahmaputra plains, situated in Assam. You have the Purvachal hills to the east, and they are generally considered very fertile and one of the largest populations ever supported by a delta or any sort of plain. Okay, that is what you'll find over there. We have an island in the middle of the river where people are actually residing, right? Majuli karke ek island hai in the river, in the Brahmaputra river, and people actually live over there. It's a ecological concern for us now, but it still does happen, right? Next, you go to the now you finish the east to west thing. Now you go towards the south to north to south thing. Okay. Now let's divide the plains from north to south. So first you have the Bhabar plains. Okay. See, this is what the Bhabar plains look like. Large boulders. Okay. And large trees also. So they will be exactly at the foothills of the Himalayas. Okay. What happens is the river just falls down over there, and usually the fall is pretty steep. So this is where the rivers fall down. Now clearly at the foothills of the Himalayas, you will find very large boulders, बड़े बड़े पत्थर है. तो वो rivers जो होते हैं वो इन पत्थरों में गायब हो जाते हैं. Can you see any major flow or a channel or something? नहीं. वो rivers just fall into these and disappear within these large boulders. Okay, if you see kind of vegetation, it is not like the vegetation is so specific. You will see very large trees with very large roots. Okay, the roots go way deeper inside because they're looking for that water over there. Okay, so clearly the roots are larger. So this kind of a plain you will find over here. This is called as the Bhabar plain. The width is around 8 to 10 kilometers, which is more in the western region, and they will run parallel to the Shivaliks, and heavy boulders, heavy rocks, coarse sand, alluvium. That is the kind of thing you will find over here. And rivers will sometimes disappear in these plains. Please remember, this is the plain in which the rivers disappear. Okay, you will find large trees, large roots, and this is generally considered very unsuitable for agriculture. You do not go and do any sort of agriculture or cultivation in the Bhabar plains. That is not recommended. Okay, below the Bhabar plains, you will find the Terai plains. Okay, remember that river that had gone off and disappeared in the Bhabar plains, it re-emerges in the Terai plains. Okay, that is going to come back up in the Terai plains. Okay, so the rivers that were lost in Bhabar usually re-emerge over here. The width is anywhere around 10 to 20 kilometers, and they lie south of the Bhabar belt. Okay, and because the river does not get a demarcated channel, what happens is since the water just appears on the surface, the entire surface starts feeling very boggy, marshy, wetlandish kind of a thing. Okay, so we are seeing this kind of a surface, marshy, swampy conditions milte hai, and because of the availability of so much water, both through the land also and usually rains also. What happens is that you find great vegetation over here. All sorts of vegetation you'll find over here. Tall grasses, short grasses, big trees, small trees. So this is very, very luxuriant in natural vegetation. And because of the natural vegetation, clearly you will have great wildlife also. Okay, you will find plenty of herbivores, and after them you will find plenty of carnivores also. Okay, so this belt houses one of the most famous national parks or wildlife sanctuaries that India ever hosts. Okay, so you have Jim Corbett, Dudhwa, Rajaji, Valmiki, Kaziranga. The reason is because यहाँ पर इतना अच्छा natural vegetation मिलता है. अगर वो natural vegetation ना मिलता, if there were not enough trees or grasses, clearly it could not support the wildlife, right? If you wish to have wildlife sanctuaries or national parks, then the wildlife has to be supported by the natural vegetation, and this is where it comes from. Okay, so the Terai region is famous for that part. Obviously, the eastern part of the Terai region will receive more rainfall because it gets all its rainfall from the Bay of Bengal branch. Okay, now you are talking of this region. Huh? You are saying this region gets more rainfall. Okay, the eastern part of the Terai plains will receive more rainfall. So you are saying that happens because the Bay of Bengal branch comes over here directly and it rains over here. है ना, वो यहाँ से बारिश देता है. If the southwest monsoons had to come all the way, so by the time the southwest monsoons get to that part of the country, they are clearly going to be a little less moist. They're going to carry a little less amount of rainfall, right? So most rainfall that this region receives, that the eastern Terai plains receive, come from the Bay of Bengal branch. Okay, ठीक है? Okay, ठीक है. Next is the alluvial plains. Okay, now you go to the actual alluvial plains. Remember what the floodplains are? We said that when a river flows, okay, sometimes it gets enough water, okay, and clearly at a point of time when the water cannot be contained in the river channel, that water threatens to spill out. Okay, now if the water is coming out, it is not the only thing that is coming out. Usually the silt also comes out with it. The silt that the river that remains suspended in the river water also comes out with that water, and that gets spread across the banks that are closest to the river. Okay, so that is usually how floodplains are formed. Now, when the water recedes, it goes back and all the silt just remains over there. Okay, and this happens every year that the river floods. Okay, so we are discussing these two different types of alluvial plains. The older ones will be called as the Bhangar plains, and the newer ones will be called as the Khadar plains. Okay, so now these alluvial plains, we say the Bhangar is the outer belt of the alluvial plains. Okay, the old alluvial soil. We are talking of the older alluvial soil, the one that did not get renewed every year with every flood. Okay, it is away from the river banks. In fact, it lies above the flood limit of the rivers. Well-drained soils hote hain. They are usually considered very good for agriculture, but it is a little drier. It is a little arid, and that is why, though it is rich in humus, it usually contains those formations that we specifically call as, those are calcium carbonate nodules that we call as kankar. Okay, we call that specifically kankar, and that is considered a little harmful for cultivation. Okay, because it impedes the cultivation. It is not nutritious enough. You have to get those kankars out before you actually cultivate and everything of that sort. Okay, so वो कंकर फॉर्मेशन मिलता है आपको. कंकर्स कैसे बनते हैं ना, I'll tell you. Sometimes a little water, when there is water present, okay, and it starts to dry out, what happens is by capillary action the water is drawn upward. Okay, physics आता है ना उतना कि capillary action से पानी ऊपर आता है. Okay, now water does not come out by itself. सारे dissolved minerals जो होते हैं उसमें वो भी चले आते हैं, तो ये कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट जो होता है वो भी चला आता है ऊपर. ओके, एक बार वो सारा सेडिमेंट जो है वो फाइनली ऊपर आ जाता है, तो इट सॉलिडिफाइज ऑन द ग्राउंड. ओके, वो सरफेस पे सॉलिडिफाई कर जाता है, and that is essentially what the kankars are. Okay, so those are small nodules of calcium carbonate which are formed on the soil itself. Okay, Bhangar में ज्यादा मिलता है हमको ये. Khadar soil is the newer soil. Okay, now we are saying Khadar soil is going to be the newer belt. It is the one that gets enriched every year. Every year that the river floods, and Himalayan rivers do flood every year. So every year that the river floods, you get this new formation. Okay, नया वाला alluvial belt मिल जाता है आपको. This is the inner belt of the alluvial tract, gets renewed and enriched in floods every year. Very fine and very cultivable, fertile soil होता है इसमें. Sand, silt, clay, mud, the finer kind of soil you find over here. Okay, इसमें कंकर नहीं मिलते आपको. It is considered ideal for agriculture, and cultivation of rice, wheat, maize, sugarcane, ये सब कुछ आसानी से होता है. This is the plain that houses most of our population, right? North India में सबसे ज्यादा population है हमारी, and most of the population usually Ganga plains में lie करता है, not just for the ease of transportation and trade and everything, but also because of cultivation. Okay, तो वो एक major part है हमारा. And lastly, you come to the delta plains. Okay, now you go to the place where the rivers are. We are talking of these plains. ये वाला पार्ट के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, है ना, दिस रीजन, वी आर टॉकिंग ऑफ दिस रीजन जहाँ पे ये सुंदरबंस एंड ये सब बनता है ना, तो वी आर टॉकिंग ऑफ दैट डेल्टा। ओके, सो वी आर सेइंग कि ये जो डेल्टा प्लेन्स होते हैं, दे आर द डेपोजिशनल ट्रैक्ट इन द लोअर गंगा प्लेन्स। मड एंड मार्श होती है इसमें, ओके, मोस्टली मड एंड मार्श होता है। दो वर्ड्स मिलेंगे आपको, जो लोअर लाइन रीजन्स है, लोअर लाइन मार्शी रीजन्स है, द वंस दैट आर क्लोजर टू द सी, ओके, दोस गेट कॉल्ड एज बिल्स, and the upper ones, the ones that are closer to the land, they get called as uplands of the delta region get called as chars. Okay, chars and bills, just remember that these are parts of the delta. Okay, is this clear? hmm? Okay, let us try to go to another question there. Coastal plains का question नहीं कर सकते, ये नहीं कर सकते, नहीं, नहीं। Okay, question 18 and 19. Which of the two following statements is incorrect? Khyber plains are found at the foothills of the Shivaliks and run parallel to that range. Other plains get renewed and enriched in floods every year. Bhangar plains contain heavy rocks, boulders, coarse sand, and alluvium. And the marshy lowlands of deltas are called as bills. Yeah? Incorrect statement बोलना है. Oh, got it. You tell me. हाँ जी, कौन सा? Second incorrect है. Other plains get renewed and enriched in floods every year. खदर के तो प्लेन्स रिन्यू करेंगे ना हम लोग. सी कैसा होता है, वी आर सेइंग अगर ये रिवर होगा, से सपोज दिस इज द रिवर, ओके, दिस इज गोइंग टू बी द रिवर, हम इसको रिवर बुलाएंगे, ओके, तो इसके ठीक बाजू में जो प्लेन मिलता है दैट इज गोइंग टू बी द खदर प्लेन, ओके, देन इसके बाजू में यहाँ जो होता है दैट इज कॉल्ड एज द बंगर प्लेन, ओके, उसको बंगर बुलाते हैं, and then you get the terai and the power plates, that is the, and then of course you come to the foothills of the Himalayas, so that is the order in which this is going. तो हमारा कंसर्न ये है कि खदर प्लेन्स तो गेट रिन्यूड एवरी ईयर एंड गेट एनरिच, दोज आर द न्यू अलुवियल प्लेन्स, वही तो हम हर साल एनरिच कर रहे हैं. भाबर प्लेन्स के बारे में सही बोला है कि दीज रन पैरेलल टू द रेंज एंड दे लाई एट द फुटहिल्स ऑफ द शिवालिक्स. यस, ये भी सही है ना, भाबर प्लेन्स का भी सही है कि दे आर फाउंड एट द फुटहिल्स ऑफ द शिवालिक्स एंड दे रन पैरेलल टू द रेंज एंड खदर गेट रिन्यूड. ओके, मार्शी लोलैंड्स को तो बिली बुलाएंगे, अप डेल्टा के अपलैंड्स को चार्ज बुलाते हैं, तो ये वाला भी सही है. ये भंगर प्लेन्स होते हैं जिसमें आपको हेवी रॉक्स, बोल्डर्स, कोर्स अलुवियम एंड सैंड मिलता है. कौन से होते हैं? भाबर होते हैं ना, भाबर प्लेन्स में बुलाते हैं. भंगर में तो कंकर मिलते हैं, रिमेंबर. सो वी आर सेइंग दिस इज रॉन्ग. ओके, नेक्स्ट वाला बताइए. व्हिच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग plains is noted for its abundance of national parks and wildlife? Babar, Khadar, Terai, Bhangar. Terai. Third, Terai. We are looking for Terai plains. मैं ना सारे पीवाईक्यूज, ये चैप्टर खत्म हो जाएगा ना तो सब साथ में डिस्कस कर लेते हैं, बिकॉज पीवाईक्यूज में ऐसे ढूंढना थोड़ा मुश्किल हो जाएगा. योर पीवाईक्यूज विल मोस्टली कंटेन समथिंग दैट इज based on the whole chapter or based on different chapters as well. So we are good. Okay, give me 2 minutes. Otherwise, I